to You by Puffin.
How to Change Everything: The Young Human's Guide to Protecting the Planet and Each Other by Naomi Klein and Rebecca Steffoff. Read for you by Katie Ryerson. In loving memory of Tio Saraski, 2002, 2020. NK. Introduction. At the Reef. I spent a lot of time underwater as a kid. My father taught me to snorkel when I was 6 or 7, and those are some of my happiest memories. I was a shy child and often felt self-conscious. The one place where I never felt that way, where I always felt free, was in the water. Meeting ocean life so closely always amazed me. When you first swim up to a reef, the fish mostly scatter. But if you hang out for a few minutes, breathing quietly through your air tube, you become part of the seascape to them. They'll swim right up to your mask or gently nibble your arm. I always found these moments wonderfully dreamlike and peaceful. So when I went to Australia for work years later, I decided to try to give my 4-year-old son, Toma, the kind of undersea experience I had loved as a child. I wanted to show him that although the surface of the sea might look unremarkable, you can see a whole new and colorful world when you look beneath the surface. Toma had just learned to swim, and we were about to embark on my first ever visit to the Great Barrier Reef, the largest structure on Earth made up of living things, trillions of tiny coral creatures. The timing seemed perfect. We went to the reef with a film crew and a team of scientists who had been studying the reef. I wasn't sure that Toma would be able to focus on the coral at all, but he had a flash of true wonder. He saw Nemo. He saw a sea cucumber. I think he even saw a sea turtle. That night, when I tucked him into bed in our hotel room, I said, "Today is the day when you discovered there is a secret world under the sea." He looked up, and the pure happiness on his face told me he understood. He said, "I saw it." I felt a mixture of joy and heartbreak, because I knew that just as he was discovering the beauty of our world, it was draining away. You see, the Great Barrier Reef was the most stunning place I had ever seen. It was a riot of life everywhere. Sea turtles and sharks swam past brilliantly colored coral and fish. But the reef was also the most frightening thing I had ever seen, because large parts of it, the parts I didn't show Toma, were dead or dying. Those parts of the reef were a graveyard. As a journalist who had been reporting on climate change and the environment, among other subjects, I had come to the reef to write about it. I knew what was happening. A reef-killing event called a mass bleaching had the Great Barrier Reef in its grip. Bleachings happen at times of high water temperature. The living corals turn ghostly and bone white. They can return to normal if temperatures quickly go back down to lower levels. In the spring of 2016, though, temperatures had stayed high for several months. A quarter of the reef had died and turned into a brown goo of decay. At least another half of it had also been affected to some extent. The water of the Pacific Ocean didn't have to warm very much to cause this massive die-off at the Great Barrier Reef. Ocean temperatures went up just 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1 degree Celsius, past the levels at which these corals can live. The dead and dying parts of the reef I saw were the result. Corals are not the only things affected by bleachings like the one I saw. Many species of fish and other creatures depend on coral for food or habitat. Food and income for 1 billion or so people around the world come from the fish that depend on coral reefs. When reefs die, the loss reaches far. Sadly, more reefs are dying. That's because temperatures are rising everywhere, not just at the Great Barrier Reef. And these rising temperatures are changing our world. This audiobook is about that change. It is about why temperatures are rising, how they're rising.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?